Welcome to this YouTube channel on how to buy a business no cash down. I'm Carl Allen and I've been buying businesses now for almost 25 years, more than 250 deals in 17 different countries. So this playlist is all about deal making basics, the fundamental rules of what we do to take over someone else's established business without spending our own money. Here's the next video in the sequence. There are 6 in total.
And here I'm going to give you my 4-part negotiation playbook that I use every day on every single deal. Now ideally you're going to have at least 5 businesses that you've come out of your funnel that have been qualified and filtered, doing all that research I mentioned earlier and applying those filters. Now it's time to talk turkey with these owners. Now the key is to play them off against each other. Who will crack first? Who wants it more than anybody else? It sounds really cruel, but remember, you're solving a massive problem for all of these sellers. It's now about who wants it the most. So now you're going to be ready to go and see the owner. You've done your research, you've worked out how much money you can raise, you've filtered these businesses, you've qualified them. Now it's time to go and see them. But here are the rules of engagement, and this is really important. Now firstly, try and meet off-site for the first time. Again, it helps build trust, rapport and massive credibility with these sellers. If you've previously met them at an event, or you've spent lots of time on the phone or on social media, or it's come as a qualified direct approach from someone in your network, then it may be fine to go direct to the business and view it, but always offer to meet the owner off-site first. Now you'll have done this before a trade event, but make sure that you do your homework before meeting anybody. Remember those 5 tips? Just find out 5 things about that business and also 5 things about the owner, and then drop them into the conversation. And if you've done some anonymous research and you can say something to the owner that he or she does not know, that is limitless. And there's 2 things that you need to get into that first meeting. 1, you've got to sell yourself as an expert in the market that the business is in, and 2, you've got to make sure that you clearly state that you'll look after the business and the employees, you'll nurture, respect, protect and grow it. And even offer the seller a part-time role in the business if you think they can add some value. And if advisors come to their first meeting, the seller's accountant or their lawyer or someone that's close to them may typically come along. Keep them close. Tell them that you'll want to rely on their continued support once you own the business. That way they will also back you, and you can use them to lean on the seller if things get sticky in the negotiation. But the biggest rule: do not talk price or terms at the start. You must build trust and confidence first. So once you've got the trust and rapport, this is what you need to do next. You need to sign up to something called a non-disclosure agreement, and then you need to collect some data. You need the last 3 years accounts, the current year's financial forecasts and the future forecasts if they're available, and also the latest balance sheet, because that's got the list of the assets which you can use to calculate how much money you're going to raise. So in your second meeting, now you can start to negotiate your deal. Now here's my negotiation playbook. Now in step 1, I always first offer to take over only the liabilities within the business, and from my experience 10% will go for this. So if you see 10 businesses, 1 will bite in a step 1 deal. Step 2 is where the seller wants some money paid in the future. You know what the current profits are from the accounts that you've got as part of the data, so only offer a maximum of 50% of this profit as an annual payment. Don't ever go above this, as you will want at least 50% of the annual profit for yourself on an ongoing basis. Again, 10% of sellers go for this. So together with step 1, 1 in 5 opportunities will bite either as a step 1 or a step 2. So if you've got that minimum of 5 opportunities and you go and see them all, 1 of them will give you their business. Step 3, we talked about this before. If you find the absolute dream business, this world-class business that's just amazing, and the seller wants something on completion, you can offer a maximum of 1/3 of the total fundraise. That way you get to keep 1/3 for yourself, and then if you want to, you can use the final 1/3 to invest in the business for growth. It may not require any investment, so you can keep 2/3 for yourself, but don't give the seller more than 1/3. Combine it with the 50% profit as an annual payment if you need to. Now step 4 just don't go there. There isn't really a step 4. Move on to the next opportunity on your list. This may not be the end of the negotiation. Many sellers that have declined a step 1 or a step 2 or a 3 in that case only then come back to me a week later after that lovely weekend with the family, or they've taken a really nice vacation. They get back into their business on a cold wet Monday morning and they think, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to call that great potential buyer that's going to look after my business and look after my employees, and I'm going to let him have it. So just to summarize this, 1 in 2 or 50% of all the businesses that you see, as long as you filtered them correctly, will not cost you personally a single penny to acquire. And to spice up the negotiations, play them off against each other. Acquire the best one now, and then you can always bolt the other ones on later, and I talk about that in about 10 minutes. Now in step 7, once you've shook hands on a deal, you need to get exclusivity to complete it and then map out the project to completion. So what you need to do next is put in writing the summary of the deal. This is called a letter of intent, an LOI, a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, or heads of terms, which we call HOTs. They're all the same. So heads of terms is effectively an executive summary of the deal, and it's an option for you to acquire the business. It maps out the time to completion, typically 4 to 8 weeks, and then gives you exclusivity to complete it free from distractions. Now heads includes the price and the structure if you're paying any money. Say $0 on completion, then $200,000 per year for 5 years, contingent on the business hitting a minimum $400,000 a year of annual profit. You also then define what assets and liabilities you will inherit when you acquire the business, and how much cash the owner needs to leave in the business for you to run it the day that you own it. You then need to create a simple timetable to completion, and now is the time to get your free expert help. Now, you're definitely going to need a lawyer to handle the contract and the legal due diligence, unless you've got legal skills. But you make the cost of that lawyer contingent, i.e. you only pay them if the deal completes. You may pay a higher fee, but the business will then pay it and never yourself. I also use accountants to do financial due diligence, again for me to save time, again on a contingent basis. And sometimes I use consultants to study a new market for me if I've got no experience of it, and again I only pay on a contingent basis. Most of the professionals that you will come across when you get into your deal making journey, lawyers, accountants and consultants, they're used to being paid in this manner. It's how the industry works. It's fantastic. We've just talked about due diligence in step 7, so let's spend step 8 going into it in a bit more detail. So there are 3 types of due diligence: financial, legal and commercial. Now financial DD is very quick and simple, but get a free accountant to do it for you. It's basically an audit of the accounts and to make sure that income's correctly stated, taxes are paid, etc. They'll also look at profit margins, cash flow, whatever you want them to do. Again, it's all free. Legal due diligence is something definitely best left to a free lawyer. He or she will take the title of the business, the contract, the leases, and even go into things like intellectual property if the business has any. So if it's a manufacturing business or a technology business or it's in the pharma sector, they'll look at all the IP for you. And commercial due diligence looks at the market, the customers, the suppliers, and makes sure that the business is viable. Now this is the easiest bit, and you can probably do this yourself, but if you've got consultants queuing up ready to work for you, then why not get their help? Step 9 is all about the legal contracts of the acquisition. Now the major part of the legals is something called the SPA, the Sales and Purchase Agreement. It's similar actually to what both parties sign when you buy a house. It transfers ownership to you from the seller to you as the buyer under various conditions. So your free lawyer that runs this part of the process will also make the seller sign up to things like warranties, guarantees and indemnities. Even if you're paying $0 for the business, you do need some protection. The due diligence that the lawyer will do for you for free will have picked up any issues. However, the warranties, guarantees and indemnities, they cover everything else, things like unpaid tax, employee claims, defective products, etc. It creates a huge safety net for you. So then you don't need to look in the rearview mirror as the business owner. You can just focus on the future and on the growth. You'll also have funding contracts from all the money that you're going to raise in step 5. Now, some of my clients actually don't raise money, and I think that's crazy. Why not if it's there? If you're raising money for yourself and the business, and perhaps the seller in some cases, if you find that absolutely incredible business that you want, then you will have some contracts to sign, and your free lawyer will sort all that out for you. And there's also a bunch of ancillary documents. We won't get into the detail, but things like share certificates, banking mandates, government notices, etc. Again, the free lawyer will deal with all that for you. And step 10, the day's come. You're now the business owner, or if you own one already, you now have a bolt-on. And this ownership stage, or physical completion, is essentially a signing ceremony. You go to the seller's lawyer's office, you sign up, you sign all the documents, you then receive all your cash transferred into the business account, and then you can do with it whatever you want. You then go to your business and you get cracking. Now, that's been a whistle-stop tour of the 10-step process. I've distilled into 33 minutes, 23 years of deal making experience and 258 deals. Later, I'll talk to you about all the other detailed training that I've got that makes this process effortless.
So that's it for this particular video. The next video in this playlist will follow, and please check out all the other playlists and videos for everything you need to know to learn how to buy a business no cash down. In fact, I've crammed everything that you need to know into a special 90-minute webinar titled 3 Insider Secrets to Buy a Profitable Business Inside of 99 Days Without Cash or Knowing How to Run a Business. And here are the 3 big secrets, the 3 killer training topics. Think of these as hurdles to you becoming a business owner. First, I'll show you exactly what the 10 steps are to buy a business, and you must follow these in order. It's really critical. Second, I'll show you lots of case studies of deals structured using OPM, other people's money, and it's no more difficult than high school math. And finally, I'll show you how you can get others to operate the businesses for you, so you can do other things like spend time with your family or buy other businesses whilst enjoying the cash flow that your new business is generating for you. I'll see you on air sometime in the next week. Until then, bye for now.